Back to Morning Coffee, everybody, right here on the Radio Vision Network. I am Mark Cook. Look, it says right there, Mark Cook, Morning Coffee, right? So here we are. We're talking about estate planning. We're talking about important stuff here, okay? We're talking about the law, and you need to know about the law, and I have two experts with me right now, and they are going to kind of give you the ins and outs. We're going to talk a little bit about estate planning, we're going to talk a little bit about like tax law, but then we're also going to talk about contracts. We're going to talk about a lot of different things because you guys, you cover it all. You do it all over there at it's your firm. You are Daniel Kurtzman. Welcome.
Thank you.
To Morning Coffee. And Carol, you have to say your last name for me.
Utvush.
Utvush.
Very good.
Love it. That's not German at all, right?
That's Hungarian.
Nice Hungarian name. That's great. So Daniel and Carol, welcome to Morning Coffee. And who is my new friend here?
This is Jamie.
Jamie is, you know what? We're so lucky. I don't know if you guys saw. I think you did. Voorhees Animal Orphanage was just in. You know, Russell was a great little pup. Jamie is a great little pup. We're so lucky. All these great pups come in here, and they're all so well behaved and all that. So tell me a little bit about why Jamie's here with us today.
Well, the main reason that we're here is to introduce the estate planning concept of pet trusts. And you know, when people come to us to do wills and trusts and powers of attorney, the things that estate planning lawyers do, one thing that we've noticed over the years is that people don't think about, well, what's going to happen with my dog?
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, people consider dogs and pets, cats and sometimes horses and things, part of the family.
Right.
And we take care of our kids with trusts, with guardians, with life insurance. Oh yeah, what about the dog?
Right.
And in law, a dog is not much different than a couch.
Right. Unfortunately, they're property, right?
Exactly, personal property. And when you write in your will, I leave my personal property to be divided equally among my children, which is typical language. All right, what happens with Jamie?
Yeah.
And you know, we want to talk about ideas that we've come up with over the years about what's the right thing and what are some of the wrong things to do when you are dealing with a specific area of estate planning that addresses your pet's needs.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting because one of the things that you hear every once in a while, and Carol, I'll direct this towards you, is that like the lady left all her stuff to her cat, or she left all her stuff to her dog, right?
Leona Helmsley.
Yeah, right. So
20 million.
Where does this kind of factor into the whole thing? Because I know that probably creates a lot more problems than it solves.
And actually, I might direct part of that back to Dan because he had a similar case with a man who left a will and left the money, a large amount of money, for the care of his cats in his home. And, you know, that is great. He provided for them. However, the way he went about it created more trouble than problem solved.
Right.
And it wound up in court because the family got upset. Why are you leaving money to your cats and letting your girlfriend take care of them? And it also doesn't address the way he went about it. Didn't address, well, what happens if you're not able to take care of your pets and you're still alive? And that's where a will only works once you're not here anymore.
Wow.
A trust can work while you still are. So that was one of the
It's got to be like when one of those cases comes in, right? You're like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is what makes it really interesting and really cool because people do kind of crazy stuff. So that if he would have talked to you before, you would have been able to guide him out of that direction and been like, look, sir, you can't do this. You're going to be causing a lot of problems, kind of. And we understand that you're not going to deal with them, right? Like, other people are going to deal with them, but you're setting people not up for success. And I didn't say that right, but you're setting them up for failure, really.
And I can assure you that when that client came into my office and explained what was happening and said, yeah, we're in court, I said, oh, I'm not happy about this.
Yeah.
Because when you're in court, you have no control. The judge is going to make the decisions whether you like it or not. There is law in New Jersey that has created or recognized the concept of a pet trust, but it's very minimal in terms of what you can do. And a judge can simply tear it apart.
Yeah.
You've left too much money for your pet. This plan is irrational.
Right.
In my case, the doctor left $1.5 million for his 11 cats, and also said, "I want you, the executor, to maintain my home because that's where the cats have always lived." And the judge said,
yeah, no. Yeah, no.
You know, you've named some charities to get what money is left, and I'm not going to have 11 cats use up all that money.
Yeah.
When more important things in the judge's estimation should be done with it. Okay, the judge makes the rules when you're in court.
Yeah.
And part of what we've developed, what our focus has been, is to take care of your animals while you're still alive and after you die, and keep it out of court.
Yeah.
The way you get into court, I'm afraid, is to try to take care of your pets in your will.
Right.
Because a will, once it's probated, the court's right there. And what we've developed is, it's a form of living trust. That's a term that people generally are familiar with. It's something you create during your lifetime. It exists during your lifetime. It's available in this context with a dog or a cat or a horse.
Mm-hmm.
It is available if you, as Carol mentioned, if you become disabled, if you simply can't, for
If
whatever
something happens,
reason,
right.
something happens, maybe for reasons you have to go into an apartment where they don't permit pets.
Right.
Or you get injured and you're in a nursing home. Who's going to take care of your pet? What are the instructions? What do you want to be done?
Right.
Could be, I want my pet to see this veterinarian. I want my pet to have this kind of food. Should walk twice a day. I want so-and-so to take care of him because that person knows.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the sort of stuff that's really important to a pet owner, right? And it's important to the pet for the consistency and all of those things. But, I mean, it's the stuff that you guys are doing that's trying to eliminate and avoid a lot of the problems on the other side.
Yeah.
That if these people would just talk to you guys, that now that you've kind of created this little niche for the firm there, and I think that it's fantastic that you're the experts on this now. You guys are the ones that are leading kind of the charge that, look, these are the guys that have gotten kind of forgotten in the process here, and that if we can include them and talk about what we need to do ahead of time before we're up against it, right? Because if they would have called you before you were in court, you would have had so much more of an opportunity to be able to help the situation. But once you're in court, it's too late for that, right?
You're locked into whatever was written, and in this case, wasn't much written, and it's not in your control. And the judge says, which the judge did say, I've got more important things to deal with.
Basically, yeah.
I've got foreclosures. I've got people being thrown out of their homes.
Right.
And yeah, you're entitled to your day in court, but come on.
Yeah,
You know?
right?
And
Your day's not as important as these other
Well,
people's day. And look, they're
you can't
human.
argue with
It's not
that.
right, but that's how it is, unfortunately.
And exactly right. Our goal is to make sure that, you know, when you are either disabled or you die, your goal ultimately is to make sure that somebody is there, somebody you trust, who has enough instructions to do what you would do if you could.
Right.
So there's part of what we do is develop language that gives those instructions. But then you say, well, okay, you've given all this instruction, but that might cost $2,000 a year.
Right.
And like Jamie, he's 3. Life expectancy for a Wheaton Terrier is about 13, 14.
15, yeah.
So you got 10 years. 2,000 a
10
year,
times 2,
20,000 bucks. How do you get the money into the trust in the hands of the, a proper person,
Right,
who can
caretaker.
then Well, that's an issue.
Oh, is that a bad word? I used a bad word.
No. You used the precise word, but do we want to put the money in the hands of the person who's going to spend the money, or do we want to create another level of control?
Okay.
The old saying, "Who guards the guardian?"
Right. Okay.
So we recommend, if possible, that one person, a trustee, controls the money. The other person takes day-to-day care and responsibility, but the trust then funds it, right? Carrying it out.
Oh, this is interesting. This is really cool stuff. So I got to take a quick break. Okay. This is always what happens, right? We talk about all this great stuff, and then I run it into the commercial break. So Dan and Carol, you guys are going to hang out. We'll be right back. I want to talk more about the firm. Okay. You've been working so hard your whole life for this firm, right? I mean, we want to talk about the firm. We want to talk a little bit more about like kind of the ins and outs of the estate planning and all of that stuff. And then we're just going to get to know you guys a little bit. We've got plenty more coming up here on Morning Coffee. Don't go anywhere, folks, because we're going to be right back here on the Radio Vision Network. Stick around.
Sub some sizzle. This is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Simply Gents, located in Marlton, New Jersey, takes care of all your grooming needs, including haircuts, straight razor shaves, massages, facials, manicures, pedicures, and waxing. To find more information or book an appointment, visit us online at www.simplygents.com. The secret weapon of a well-groomed man, Simply Gents.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, be a sub above.
Today's show was brought to you by Alicia Kelly of White Horse RV Center in Williamstown, New Jersey. Alicia is your RV expert. Contact Alicia at alicia@whitehorserv.com or give her a call at 856-262-1717, extension 203. When you think of RV, think Alicia Kelly.
Today's show has been sponsored by Farmers Insurance in Voorhees, New Jersey. To protect your assets and the people you love, call Mike Skoranek, your local Farmers Insurance agent, at 856-336-2553.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to Morning Coffee here on the Radio Vision Network. I am Mark Cook, and Jamie has made... Jamie's a he or her?
Yeah, he.
He's a he. He's made himself comfortable. I wanted to make sure I got that right. David, from the last segment, he gave me a hard time because I referred to Russell as a girl. And, you know, when you're talking about pets and dogs and all that stuff, sometimes you get confused, but you don't... I didn't mean it as an insult to Jamie, right? I mean, he's a sweet pup. He's just hanging out. I just found out. And I'm talking to Dan and Carol from Dan Kurtzman's law firm. And the firm is right in Merchantville, by the way, so you can find them really easily. Just go to kurtzman-law.com. Is that right? I mean, that's so easy. Yeah. And it's Kurtzman. You can see it right there. It's spelled right there. Just kurtzman-law.com. Open up a new tab. You're already on the internet. Open up a new tab. Do it right now. So you were talking about how Jamie's with you all the time, right? Jamie is 3, and he has been a part of the firm for the last 3 years, and it's really kind of a cool dynamic with what you have going on there, because you explained to me a little bit that it's not a traditional firm in terms of that there's a big partner structure and all of this stuff, but you basically have been doing estate planning and this type of law for a few years, for a couple of years. I'm just going to say a few years, and you know, yeah, it's very, very impressive. And you basically were fighting for one of your clients. Right?
Yep.
And it came to a situation where I believe you were probably either about to go to trial, you were in the trial, and you met the opposing lawyer. And Carol was there, and she was fighting really tooth and nail for her client, too, and you guys saw an opportunity there. So if you just tell me a little bit about this story, because I just think it's so cool.
We actually, fortunately, we didn't wind up fighting too much, but guardianship does require going to court. And I had been representing a woman who was going to need a guardian, and the person who was going to serve as the guardian was Dan's client.
Right.
And so we, you know, there is a certain adversarial nature that goes along with it, just to make sure each of our clients' needs are, you know, represented well. But we recognized in that we have very complementary skill sets, and so over time, after that one resolved, I would, you know, I had a couple things. Dan has a lot of real estate and contract experience, and mine is primarily elder law. I was a social worker before I went to law school, so I have a very different bent than most attorneys when they look at their practice. So I had a few things with real estate transactions, very complicated, and I, you know, called Dan.
You're my favorite type of lawyer because you can do so many other things, right? You don't have your specific focus or you get into problems with the specialty and all that stuff, but like what an amazing background, right? You've done real estate, you've done so many different things.
Right. I wasn't like a realtor. I had a real estate case. I was social worker.
But you were
though,
studying.
yes.
You still had to study
Yes.
up on it. That's what I
Yep.
mean. Like the diversity in your background is what lends to a lot of the expertise now. That's all I'm saying.
And I would say, excuse me, that the most critical piece of Carol's background that integrates with not only the type of law practice that she has, but with her attitude, is the fact that she was a social worker in Camden. And, you know, her primary focus, as is mine, although I suppose I'm maybe more adversarial than she is, her focus is to help clients.
It's compassion. You can feel it. You can feel it right away, and that's like a really cool thing. And that's I didn't mean I felt like I almost put you on the spot a little bit. And I wasn't trying to do that. I was just saying, like, you can tell that there's a lot more going on than you just going in every day and practicing your law, right? I mean, because there's so many guys that do that, and you couldn't do that. You wouldn't have been able to do it for all of these years if that's what you did. You just went in, got your job done, and went home, right? And I just feel that from you, that you care about it so much, and you care about your clients so much. You care about it, that you're here to tell everybody about it, right? I mean, this is really, really cool stuff.
And this is one of the things that we do work, and that's where Jamie comes in. Is so many of my clients, I don't. For my own practice, I'm of counsel to Dan's office. We work very closely together. My own practice, I don't have a physical office because I always base my practice. I would go to my clients. They were disabled. They were elderly. Why make them go someplace?
Yeah.
And so their pets, though, were always a big thing. Like they would always apologize. Oh, they got hair on your pants. So what? You know, it's okay.
That's what happens. They're dogs.
And that is a big part of your practice. So is doing what your clients need. And sometimes people say, well, lawyers don't do that. Okay, fine, but if they needed something that was really easy to take care of, do it because that just makes their day.
Even if it's hard to take care of.
Right, but it's that above and beyond service that's what makes you successful, and that's what makes, you know, Mrs. Walker pick up the phone and call Mr. Thompson and be like, look, you have to work with Carol. If you don't work with Carol, you're an idiot because she's the best, right? I mean, that's why you do what you do.
And this is right. I mean, and it does run a gamut. We try to keep it, you know, to what needs to happen, but that is where we saw the opportunity with the pet trust, and Dan has had some very big cases involving pet trusts that did. Problem was there wasn't a pet trust; it was in an estate instead of a trust. But where you see an opportunity to prevent tragedy.
Tragedy, right.
And the pets are so attached to their people and the people to their pets. When the person, becomes too disabled and has to go into a nursing home, there's nobody set up to take care of them.
Right.
Then what happens? And so that is one of the things that we've reached out to the Voorhees Animal Orphanage to see how can we work together. Some people are
great.
elderly,
That's a great idea.
and they don't necessarily have someone to leave the pet to.
Right.
A lot of them may have the money to make sure that somebody could take care of their pet,
Right.
but they don't have an actual person to do it.
Right.
So, looking, how do we work together? Because I've also had many clients who are disabled and they have all day and they could take care of a pet, would love to have one and can't afford one.
Right.
Is there a way
Wow,
to
can
make
we,
that
yeah,
work?
can we meet
We don't
them
know.
up? Can we get them together?
We don't
Doing
know
that
how
through
that
the,
can work out, but hopefully we can figure out
But
something
but you
for
know
it,
what?
just to look at it and recognize it.
Exactly, it's got to start somewhere,
Right.
right? Like,
Bring it
because nobody has done this before, somebody has to get it started, somebody has to get the ball rolling, and that is the challenge that you've taken on. And I think that it's fantastic. But Dan, I have to ask you, has there been times where like you've opened up your file and you've looked and you've been like, are you kidding me? This is the number? This is the number that you've put on your canine or your feline, where you throw them all up in the air and you're like, this is amazing. How could there be this much money, right? Like, it's just some of the crazy. Just give me one quick one that was crazy. That you're like, I can't believe that this person, this super rich person, now has all these animals. Now now I'm looking at all this paperwork. Just something crazy. Just humor me. I know it's probably not that crazy, but
It really, in my practice, has run the gamut from people simply saying, "I'll leave my cat to Aunt Mary," and there's nothing. Okay?
Really?
No money, no nothing. Or I leave my horse to my Uncle Charlie, and horses are a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, with no money. On the other hand, a case I mentioned to you before was sort of a Leona Helmsley type case.
right.
Not $20 million in mind, but a doctor left $2 million for the care of his cats. Had 11 cats, most of them strays that he kind of adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived all together in his home, and he said, well, I want my estate to maintain my home until the last of my pets dies, and because they've always lived there.
Yeah.
And, so a lot of money
Yeah.
poorly used.
Oh, it's so hard because, like, on one hand, I kind of understand where he's coming from, but on the other hand, you're like, you can't have a cat, 11 cats living in this huge house, right?
You
Like,
can. No, wait, let me interrupt you. You can.
you can.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But in this case, there was a dispute
Okay.
because some of the beneficiaries wanted that money. And they say that's unreasonable. Second, because it was written in a will, the court immediately had jurisdiction over it. And so it
Okay.
immediately went to court. You can basically do anything you want to do. I mean, there's certainly limits. You can't
Right.
kill
Of
people.
course.
But
Right.
within those limits, if someone came to me and said, look, I've got these 11 cats, and they are dear to my heart, and I've got enough money, I want to maintain my home.
I had no idea. That's amazing.
Sure, you can do
Yeah.
that, but you have to do it carefully.
Right.
You have to be sure that the home is maintained, assuming that you've talked to the client and assured myself that yes, this is the right thing. I can accomplish it for the client, but you have to do it well, and you have to, most important as far as I'm concerned, is keep the courts out of it,
Right.
which requires a type of planning that's effective during your lifetime, not simply after you die.
Right.
If you wait too long, if this doesn't come into effect until after you are no longer on this earth to guide it, well, the fate of your animals is out of your hands and in the hands of a judicial system that has plenty on its plate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in weighing of critical issues, pets are not high up there in a judge's
Oh, well,
estimation.
you know what, Daniel, I think it's kind of nice what you did is basically you told people is that they're not prepared for this. And And what they need to do is start thinking a little bit about it. And the easiest way for you to start the process is to get in touch with these folks right here. Did you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Did you see how I just brought that right back?
I'll pay you later.
But no, because look, it just makes sense that we've got people thinking about this stuff that never thought about it before, right? And now they're like, well, wait a second, I do care about that, and I do want to learn more. So what do I have to do? You go to kurtzman-law.com, and you're going to be able to read all of the information about the practice, but you're also going to figure out how to get in touch, to ask the pertinent questions, and to get to know Carol and Dan, who are the experts in this. So, guys, I'm up against another break. This is what happens, right?
Yeah.
But we got one more great segment to come up with. Jamie, hang in there. We're going to be all right, pal. He's doing great. He really is being good. So, again, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with Dan and Carol. And, stick through these messages. We'll be right back after this on the Radio Vision Network.
Today's show is sponsored by Hargrove Demolition, your demolition experts. Hargrove is a family-owned and operated business right here in the southern New Jersey area, bringing you 45 years of demolition expertise. Hargrove has all your demolition needs, from emergency demolition service to demolition equipment rental. Hargrove is one of the state-approved recycling facilities right here in the southern New Jersey area. No job is too big or too small for Hargrove Demolition. Contact them today at one of their 3 locations.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to give a sub some sizzle, this is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When we make Beyond Natural dry dog and cat foods, we start with real meat as the first ingredient. We leave out corn, wheat, and soy. And we own where our dry food is made. 100%. Can other brands say all that? For nutrition you can trust and your pet will enjoy. Does your food go beyond? Learn more at purinabeyond.com.
Extra Innings is the nation's premier indoor baseball and softball training center, featuring indoor batting cages, 7 multi-use tunnels, and training rooms. Extra Innings can provide professional instruction, private and group lessons, and the best year-round clinics. Along with a nationally recognized pro shop that features the latest and widest selection of equipment and apparel, our experienced staff can provide you with the right instruction and help you find the best equipment for your ability and budget. Extra Innings, where the game never ends.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
There he is. Welcome back to Morning Coffee on the Radio Vision Network. Mark Cook, right there. It says it right there. All right, Mark Cook, Morning Coffee. Here I am. So, listen, this has been fantastic. I've been talking to Daniel Kurtzman and Carol. I know I've only said your last name once because I don't want to mess it up again. But let's try it. Utbush.
There you go.
Yeah. I know it's not Otvos, and that's how it's spelled, right? And I'm sure you hear that all the time, and you're like, no, it's not Otvos. That's the American way to say it. It's Hungarian. It's Otvos.
Which you'll answer to.
Yeah, and that's because you've got to be. If you knew my real last name, you'd be like, well, your brain would explode a little bit, right? It's very long. It's very Italian. I am from South Jersey. That's just kind of how it goes. But I wanted to talk about. We call them pet trusts, right? And you guys are the leaders and the experts of this kind of new dynamic that's happening with it, and I'm going to put it in this category, and I know that you could poke holes all through it, but when you're planning your estate planning and your wills and your final preparations, a lot of the things that gets lost are your pets, and not always that they get lost, but they're just not. The terminology and the language isn't there the way it needs to be to make sure
They're
that
not
things are
adequately-
protected. Right.
They're not how you would want things to go
Right.
if you were there.
Right.
Which is the whole purpose of documents, to try to structure the future when you're not able to be there
Right.
to control
Right.
the present. if you
Right.
will.
It's basically a way to make sure that the animals are cared for the way you would care for them.
Right.
But you guys said something really interesting to me, is that we call them pet trusts, but a more accurate term would be animal trusts, because there's so many different wide ranges of animals now that people have domesticated and consider them pets, but they're not just cats and dogs. So what's going on here?
You want to provide for your birds. Parrots can live for 60 years. A lot of people are getting goats. They go with their, and horses are especially crucial because they are very expensive. And you hear every once in a while somebody got sick and didn't go to the stable, and then they find a horse in terrible condition.
Right.
Snakes, people
Reptiles.
will get.
Yeah.
They may not be dear to us, but they're dear to somebody.
Yeah.
Or they might simply be particularly valuable.
That's a good point.
And,
right.
I don't know about snakes, but there may be, people may have snakes that are
Certain
really
breeds,
valuable,
right? Yeah.
and you don't want them treated like some common, ordinary.
Right. It's not a garden snake. It's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
right. It's actually it's kind of an interesting dynamic, because you talk about all of these different animals, but it really falls under the same thing, the same umbrella. It's about protection, right? It's about about protecting the animals. It's about protecting the person.
Yeah.
It's about. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know I'm running out of time, and look, we're on the internet, so you need to just go to kurtzman-law.com to get the information. All right, open up another tab at the top of the screen. You can listen to us finish. Bah. Yeah, rewind that. You can listen to us finish the interview while you're looking at the website. Just open a new tab, go to kurtzman-law.com. But it's about that protection, right, guys? I mean, that's really what it's all about, is making sure that the dynamics are changing so that everybody on all sides is protected.
Correct. You want to make sure your children. I'm sorry.
Protection and control. We can essentially control the protection. You're obviously not, and hopefully I suppose, not going to have your animal under the care of someone who's going to brutalize the pet or the animal. Mistreat or experiment, that sort of thing. You're not going to expect that kind of situation. But with properly drafted documents, you can control the nature of the protection, and if you are able to fund this structure, this trust, well, you can make sure that you're not burdening the person you're giving your animals to.
And that's a huge piece of it, because people
Absolutely
are so concerned about what they're kind of leaving people to do, like what they have to do, right? I know my grandparents did. My grandma struggled with that. She's like, I don't want anybody to have to do anything. Like, this is like the thing. Like, I'm gone. No, it's okay. We'll take care of a few things that we have to, right? And that's, I guess, a big piece of kind of, you got to help the people as much as you've got to help the scenarios, right?
Exactly. Try to make sure that things are set up right to minimize the amount of difficulty for the people who are left behind to take care of it.
Well, you mentioned something that I want to talk about real quick, and again, I'm going to just keep mentioning that I'm running out of time, and hopefully nobody will notice how much time I'm running over. But you said something about the children. Let's talk about that real quick, because that kind of goes with everything that we're talking about.
Right. Providing for children is crucial. Most people have kids. We're young. We don't think anything's going to happen. And you need to make sure that there's an estate plan that includes who will take care of the children, and the pet trust also comes in because, especially if you have an older child, they may have grown up with this pet.
Right.
So you can wrap it all together and make sure that it's a horrible thing for a kid to lose their parents. The last thing you need is their dog to go to the shelter.
Yeah,
because
right.
there's nothing in the will, and there's nobody, there's nothing in place to take care of that pet immediately, or the to have a trust set up, and also for the children, because sometimes parents might become disabled as well.
Yeah.
Generally, estate planning, in the broad picture, involves the lifetime piece, which is typically a power of attorney, in which you give someone you trust authority to deal with your property, your assets, money, or your pet, to do things if you're not able to.
Mm-hmm.
A will comes into play after you die. Before then, it's, you can change it any number of times.
Right.
And in those two environments, while you're alive or after you die, you try to set things up so that everyone you care about, everything you care about, is going to be taken care of. That involves perhaps a trustee who would handle money, a guardian. You have a guardian for your animals, a guardian for your kids.
Right.
Pets are described as eternal, 2-year-olds, 4-year-olds?
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
You have to make sure that there's money, and of course, people typically have life insurance to cover the financial
Can
needs
use
of their
that.
kids. And you
That's
can
cool.
carve a piece of life insurance out to fund a trust.
I bet
for
you
your
most
kids.
people don't know that.
No.
And I think that they need it. That's neat. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I didn't know that. You can use a piece of your life insurance to make sure that every living thing is covered,
Yep.
right? That's
Right.
that's
That's
really
the
really
purpose
cool.
of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's because you can have people with the best intentions, people you trust with your life. You can appoint them to do various things, but they can die. They can become
Right.
disabled.
They can have
Their
right.
circumstances.
Mhm.
When you say, "I leave my child in the care of this guardian," well, and here I give this money to the guardian.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, if you simply hand it over, it's the guardian's money. So what happens if the guardian gets sued? For nothing related to your child or your pet?
Right.
They're in an accident, they get sued, they go bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
All these things things can befall someone, no matter how
Careful.
trustworthy they are, how good their intentions are.
Right. How prepared they think they
Yes.
are. Right.
And our job is to try to address the what ifs,
Mm-hmm.
and not the kind of theoretical what if aliens come to Earth, but the what
Right.
ifs, like
The real what
if
ifs.
if you
Yeah.
name a husband and a wife to take care of your kids, what happens if they divorce?
Right.
Who
Right.
who gets the kid?
Real life scenarios.
Absolutely. And then you wind up in court, and then there's a judge
Yeah. Right.
who
Yeah,
Decide.
right, and that's and look, it just takes a little bit of planning, people. It starts with a conversation, and it's stuff that you may not have thought about before, but you should be thinking about it now. And I think the best way to get the information is to go to Kurtzman-law.com. That's Kurtzman, Kurtzman-law.com. Now, guys, this is our little tradition here. At the end of each interview, I have you look into camera 3, which is right over there in front of our sports wall, and I want you to look into that camera and just give all of the information again, however you'd like to give it. I think that we've done a great job just making sure that people know about Kurtzman-law.com. But if you wanted to give any other information, as Andy Reid used to say at the end of the football games, the time is yours.
time is yours.
Time is mine. I think Kurtzman-law.com is probably the best way to get a hold of us, because it has the phone number, which if you didn't want to look, it's 856-665-8100. And also, we're both on Facebook. The law offices of Daniel M. Kurtzman. But Kurtzman-law.com is your easiest one click.
Let me also add this. if you were to email us with some questions, my email is daniel.m.kurtzman@gmail.com. Carol's is carol@kurtzmanlaw.com.
Kurtzman-law.com.
That, you know, we'll do our best to try to answer your questions. If you want to call us, 856-665-8100, we'll try to answer your questions. We'll have to explain to you we're not your lawyers. We aren't giving you legal advice, and we go through all those disclaimers, but we'll try to help as well as we can. If it's something that we can handle, we can explain to you what we can do, how we can go about helping you. If it's something that we're not comfortable with, we'll make a referral. There are a lot of lawyers. You know, lawyers are specialized like doctors.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest pieces of your website is your referral, the kind of like how you guys approach your referrals and all that stuff. And I think it's really, really cool. And I just urge everybody out there just to get in touch with Dan or Carol and just talk to them, because they're really knowledgeable in this subject, and it's a subject that not a lot of people talk about, and it's something that I think we're going to see get more and more on the forefront of people's minds when they start dealing with this stuff, and you guys are kind of the experts and the pioneers of that, so that's really, really cool. But the bottom line, if you go to kurtzman-law.com, you get all the information there, or just search him out. Search Daniel Kurtzman in Google. His Facebook pages will come up, the website, all the stuff will come up. You'll know where to find them, folks. Google the names, you'll find them. It'll be fine. Don't worry about a thing. It'll be terrific. All right. So, Carol, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Dan, nice to meet you. Thank you so much. I got to take another quick break here on Morning Coffee, but don't go anywhere, because I'm going to be right back here on the Radio Vision Network. Stick around.